It is good to have you back. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers, and we're just about to start our discussion, which is on the interim government and DSS under pressure. But first, I think there is need to clarify what interim government is and why it is unconstitutional or illegal. I guess you'll be in the right position to really explain that to us.
An interim government, by its name, interim, English word interim, presupposes something brief. In law, we have interim orders. Basically, an interim order lasts for around 7 days. So if you juxtapose it in the government thing, it should be a government that lasts for a short while. It should be a kind of interregnum, something that comes to be put in place for a short while we go on to get back to the right thing or to the normal thing. But so far in Nigeria, we've had once, 1993, when we had the interim national government, which was put in place by the then President Ibrahim Babangida. He handed over on the 27th of August, 1993, to Dr. N.A. Shoneko, who he appointed as the head of that interim government. He made MKO Abiola the deputy, and then the then head of military in that government was General Sani Abacha. Around the 10th to 11th of November, in November that year, General Abacha now took over. It was like a mini coup. Looking at Nigeria's constitution, which is the ground norm, which is the major source of all other laws in Nigeria, there is no provision anywhere for an interim national government. Our constitution has a provision of what will happen in every situation. If the president is not there, there is a vice who should take the reins. If the vice is not there, there is the president of the National Assembly, okay, the Senate president, who is the third in the order of protocol and in command. There is no provision for interim national government as of today in our constitution, and there has never been any provision for that. The only time it was done, like I said, was in August 1993. And because the military, by their pattern, didn't uphold any constitution. They had constituted, we had the constitution, but they suspended major parts of the constitution and ruled by decrees. So the military could do such a thing because they themselves, and the military government on its own is an aberration. It's not the military by their training ought not to govern the nation. They are basically focused on warfare, strategic warfare, defense of the country against external aggression. That is what the military is set up for. Not to govern, not to get involved in the rule and governance of the country. So they could do that in 1993 because they were in place and they had suspended the constitution to a large extent. So they could try things. And that was how the interim national government was put in place, because there was that pressure on Damoshi Babangida to quit office. He didn't want to restore the elections, the result of the elections, which were suspended about that June, that period, the June 12th elections, which many still believe up to today was won by MKO Abiola. But midway into the announcement of the results, a court order was obtained, funny though, but then that was what we saw. A court order was obtained from the Federal High Court, then late Justice Dahiru Saleh, with which the NEC, National Electoral Commission, as it was known then, was confronted with and forced to stop announcing the result. The results were already coming in. The announcement was on, but midway into it, the then head of NEC, Professor Humphrey Musu, announced that he couldn't go on. We believe it was under that pressure. It was, the pressure was much on him, and he had to suspend the election. That was what led to a lot of uprising in the country in 1993. Both national and international pressure was on the military government of Ibrahim Babangida to do the right thing. So he found as an escape route, a kind of midpoint. Of course, he didn't want to continue the In his announcement, in his broadcast to the nation, subsequently, he said certain people didn't want MKO Abiola. That was what happened then. Okay, so in deference to those people whom we believe were perhaps faceless people, some said they were top shots in the military, some said they were the people, the northern part of the country, that a lot of people didn't, all those speculations were there, but suffice it to say that he didn't continue. He didn't allow the results to come out. So there were no official results. On the other hand, he couldn't continue. So he now put in place that contraption and exited on the 27th of August. That was how we woke up to see what interim national government.
Okay, all right. Now I think it's time for us to engage AIJ Austin Iwar. The situation that was present in Nigeria in 1993 and the one we have in Nigeria currently, would you say it is justified for some group of people, although we do not know this group of people yet, because the only thing we saw from the DSS was that they stopped some plot to the plot that was calling for interim government. But with the situation we have at hand now and what happened in 1993, do you feel it is substantiate to call for an interim government right now?
Well, thank you for having me. My colleague in the studio has given you a very clear historical analysis of what happened in 1993. That is not the situation we have now. And that was during the military regime, and the military were a law unto themselves. They could do whatever they wanted to do, and they brought in that contraption that lasted for just 82 days, and it collapsed. The situation we have now, there is nothing, there are no indicators of what happened in 1993 now in the current situation. And let us be clear, and I mean, we have made it, I mean, my colleague in the studio here has made it clear that we do not have any provision for interim government in our constitution. Nowhere is it stated. The constitution is very clear about processes and procedures for grievances against against elections or malpractices or electoral grievances anyway. So and it's very clear, if you have grievances about the election, you go to court. As simple as that. You go to court. The courts are there. The tribunals and the courts and the appeal courts, they are all there to handle this situation. I think the situation we have now is we just have a group of anarchists in this country, people who I think hate this country and want to perpetuate violence. What do anarchists do? Anarchists believe that if it is not them, then let's scatter the whole place. Let the whole place let's create confusion in the system. And that is what we're seeing. This is a dangerous thinking. To even think about it is dangerous. And it is good that the DSS has gotten some intelligence about this. But what I expected the DSS to do was to arrest the persons that they have identified. They have told us that they have identified certain individuals. Let them arrest the people and announce their names in the public. We do not need an interim government. I mean, come to think of it, how can a sitting government that wins an election, annul that election and bring in an interim government? How can APC is the government that is ruling, and then the ACE is same government, because an interim government has to be put in place by a government in existence. So how can the government in existence rule against itself by bringing in an interim government? In any case, we don't even have it in our constitution. So I believe that this is not the best way to go. People who are fanning these embers of coup, because this is reminiscent of a coup. The other day, some misguided Nigerians and crazed Nigerians went before the Ministry of Defense and were protesting there, kind of calling out the military to intervene in what is going on. I think that is a dangerous trend, and that the security agencies should stop it before it rears its ugly head.
Now back to my studio guests. So whenever the word interim government takes place, the picture that forms in the mind of a lot of people is military. But during the military era, the interim government, although the administration, so to speak, of Ernest Shonekon was put under the military, but this was a non-military player that was brought in. So how come people are expecting that if there were to be an interim government, which apparently no one is praying for, but we'll still get back to that, how is this compulsory that it must be the military government that must come in?
Yes, like I said earlier, the only time we've had this, it was the military that put it in place. Just like the retired AIG said, it's not, it doesn't make sense for a ruling party who, as at today, have won the presidential election, and we have a president-elect, as that's what the INEC have said. The INEC has the power to organize the elections, which they have done. If you don't like the outcome, like it's been said, you go to court. It doesn't make sense for the same government, a democratic government, to now shortchange itself by not swearing in the winner from the same party. It doesn't make sense. It's totally illogical. And I believe that anytime this interim government thing is mentioned, it could be seen, I see it from the angle that perhaps people are now inviting the military to come in, knowing that there is no way a democratically elected government will not hand over power to another democratically elected government of the same party. Just like the AIG said that within the past week, a lot have happened. People went to the defense ministry to also protest. A sign of inviting the military into power. And if the military comes into power, it's not an interim national government anymore, it's a military government. They could tell you we're going to be here for 6 months and then organize the elections, or we're going to call the parties together. But the reason for that, it's not on ground. There is nothing as today in Nigeria that necessitates an interim national government or a military government to take over. There were elections. A lot of people felt shortchanged by what happened in those elections. But we just have to give the judiciary the chance to come out with what people believe is the right thing. We don't know what the right thing is. They will have to tell us.
But what happens in this case that people do not trust the judiciary? Because first off, court cases last for a very long time, and people might not really have that patience to wait for, because the chances that the result of findings from this election, if there were shenanigans in it, by the chances that it's going to come out before May 29 is quite slim. So in cases where people do not trust the judiciary or do not have enough patience for the judiciary, so what would be the advice then?
Now, of course, when we are looking at these elections, the elections have a guideline. Electoral Act is the major legal framework that guides elections and every other thing around it. From the Act, we have the electoral guidelines and all of that. Now, the Act provides for a time frame. It's not like the normal court cases that last for 3, 4, 5 years. No. The Electoral Act has put in place a time frame within which every election petition must be commenced and terminated. The maximum is 180 days. So whatever be the number of witnesses you have, whatever be the number of the amount of evidence you have, the tribunal must work in such a way, and that's why the tribunals are set up. Those members of the tribunal, serving judges drawn from the state high courts, federal high court, national industrial courts, and even from the customary court of appeal and Sharia court of appeal, all of these judges, about 257 or so in number, will sit day to day. They have abandoned their normal courts and their dockets in the states and locations where they are drawn from to now tackle this. This is a special court, so to say, and that these courts have to sit every day. That's why they are called tribunals. So the patience has to be there. Nigerians have to exercise patience to wait. That's one. Now, looking at whether people trust them, that's another thing. For quite some time now, the view of the people about the judiciary, the level of trust, if we have an integrity quotient concerning the judiciary, it's at the low end. I did say it here on a past occasion, but of course, every day you cannot expect, you cannot expect them to do. We still trust and believe that they are going to do the correct thing. But we say in law that justice must not only be done, but be seen to be done. So I trust that the judiciary know that people are looking on them, people are looking at them, and trust that they will come out well. They have a lot of pressure. They have a lot of, it's a case of all eyes on me. And I believe they will acquit themselves. Like I also said, don't forget that in law practice, you don't get what you don't ask for. So it's one thing for us to shout, this happened. It's another thing for who feels aggrieved to get right and proper evidence and place it before the court. It's not about, the court is not a Father Christmas, as we say it. So they don't just come and dish out gifts. They give what you ask for based on what you present as your evidence. And if that evidence outweighs what the other party brings, definitely judgment will be given to you. There will not be a problem where the evidence is very clear that this man has a case that ought to have judgment in his favor. And on the ground of what we have always called technicality, the tribunal or the court looks or turns the judgment the other way. That's where now the problem is. That's where the problem could also come. A lot of people may not want that kind of that kind of judgment may not sit right with so many people. So like I said, we'll give the judiciary the benefit of doubt. Justice should not only be done, but be seen to be done. The reasonable man must wait out the duration and see that indeed justice was done in this situation. That is it.
Yeah, very well. And now moving to AIG, Justin Iwa retired, talking about the Department of the DSS now. DSS seems to be under pressure because a lot of Nigerians, even the All Progressive Party and all, they are all calling out that they should come up with names of the people who they terminated their plot. Is the DSS under any obligation to come out to give out names of people who they terminated their plot, or the ones who were calling for interim government?
Yeah, okay. The DSS allegations, the DSS allegations require that they should inform the public, give the public clearly what is informed, what is involved. And now what the DSS told us was that there were entrenched interests that had mischievous plans to set back the constitutional drive of this country. And also, these individuals want to undermine civil rule. Now, they say that these planners have held several meetings and have brought up options. And those options involve sponsoring endless violent protests to warrant the call for a state of emergency. And also, they have also planned to institute frivolous court injunction to forestall this inauguration. Now, this is very clear. From the DSS statement, it is clear that they have been monitoring these people for some time. And for them to be fair to the Nigerian public, it is important that they should call out names and mention the individuals that have held several meetings and have several plans to thwart the democratic drive of this country now, also undermine the rule of law and also civil rule. Of course, we talked about trust here. I mean, my colleague in the studio talked about trust. Nigerians are very untrusting of government institutions and especially security agencies. And so it's very important. You recall that some couple of months ago, the DSS alleged that the central bank governor was sponsoring terrorism. They mentioned his name. They didn't say certain individuals in the central bank were sponsoring terrorism. How did that end? We still don't know. The governor is there, he's sitting, he's working. There were no, they did not give us a clear explanation as to how the central bank governor was sponsoring terrorism. So we don't know. So it's just hanging there. And this time around, they just came out with a kite, as far as I'm concerned. It's like a kite to gauge the feelings of Nigerians or to further create confusion within the polity. I think it will be fair to Nigerians for the DSS to give us in detail how these people are conducting these plans, what they intend to achieve in the long run, and who are those involved, the names of the people, whether they are politicians, no matter how powerful these politicians may be. It is for the sake of the country. It is to save the country. DSS should think about the safety of this country, because planning for an interim national government is a dangerous thinking. Just to think about it is even dangerous. It's undermining the constitutional processes in this country, undermining the electoral process, and undermining it is treason. It is treason. The DSS is telling us that there are some people planning treason. So they should give us the names. They have that obligation. They are obligated. They are first of all servants of the people. Even though in their statement they say that they are responsible to the president. Yes, they are responsible to the president, but as a security organization, they are first of all responsible to the needs of the country, the needs of the people of Nigeria. So they should give us the names.
Saying the DSS is withholding the names of these people is for their own protection and their families, because seeing as you said that one should not even think about interim government, perhaps the DSS is worrying that the families of these people might be attacked. Is this a plausible reason enough not to reveal their names?
Well, we haven't even said the DSS, even if the DSS is not revealing these names, they should tell us whether they have arrested these people. If the DSS had come out in their press briefing and told us that they have arrested so number of persons that were planning to undermine this country, we will understand. We will not mind. We will not say, we will say, okay, they have been arrested, so we will wait for when they will be taken to court. But there are no arrests. There are no arrests as far as we know, as far as the country knows. Nobody has been arrested. So as far as some of us are concerned, it's more like a kite, flying a kite to see how Nigerians will react. Or maybe it's also flying the kite so that people who are thinking of an interim government, the deceased, maybe it's a deterrent, it's a form of deterrent to those people who may have been thinking about it or may have been planning something like that. We don't know. Right now, Nigerians don't know anything about this interim, so-called interim government. Nothing has been given to Nigerians except that some people are planning an interim government. Who are these people? Are they those serving in the current government or those in the opposition? Can opposition form interim government? Can they institute interim government? Can they trigger an interim government? We don't know. We don't know anything. So the SSS, the DSS has to speak to Nigerians more.
Okay, all right. And then some word in the public domain is that perhaps, like the HINEC from the public domain now, that perhaps the DSS too have been bought over, and then the reason they are just saying this is to make sure that everyone is well accepting of the new president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. How do you react to that?
That is speculation. I don't discuss speculation. We don't talk about speculation. Nigerians like speculating, bringing up, ideas about what they don't know about. I mean, how do we know if we say that the DSS has been bought over? That is mere speculation. Where is the evidence? Anybody mentioning that should bring out evidence.
All right. That is noted.
Yes, I was saying earlier that that call was more of a preemptive thing. For me, or call it kite flying, like the AIG said, to gauge the mood of the people. Otherwise, the current mood of this nation doesn't need a call wherein you are saying some people have been uncovered who are planning something like this without more. We expected, for me and for so many others who have commented, we had expected that the breaking news should be, oh, good morning, Nigerians. These names were rounded up from different parts of the country in the past 3-4 days, planning to foist upon Nigerians an interim national government, planning to subvert the democratically elected government, planning to forestall or to prevent the handing over to a new government come May 29. Or this or that, that would have been much better. See these people, we rounded them off, these are their names, these are their faces. Nigerians will now be much more assuaged. It will help us to know what exactly is going on, who are involved. Other than coming to say, we have uncovered a plot, wherein some key players, interested people, interest want to do this without more. We've not called names, we've not said anything from that. That to me is not charitable. Gauging the feelings of a lot of Nigerians at this stage in our democratic and transition process. Okay? And then not just that, we know that yes, when you don't come out clean on a matter, like the AIG said, a lot of government institutions don't impress Nigerians again. A lot of Nigerians are doubting of government institutions and their intentions. And when you create this kind of speculation, the grapevine is agog. A lot of stories come, people think the DSS, like you just said, has been bought over. You create room for people for gossip to fester, for the grapevine, the unofficial media to have its way. Some will now say, we saw the DSS, DG so place, a lot of markets place, speculation will come in. And you don't blame so many people. So like I've said, a lot of people are on edge already. And the best you could do is to say a thing and substantiate it with evidence. Okay? Then a lot of people will now say, oh, so this is true. Oh, they are working. Oh, this is great. This is charitable. Then the country will now, the tempo or the tensions will be able to reduce. But just that statement, the way it came, a lot of people have also said, is it another way, is it a decoy to now start to arrest the opposition or whoever calls for a review of these results or whoever comes out to protest? Because the right to protest is enshrined in Section 40 of the Constitution. And you can't take it away from Nigerians. As long as the protest is not violent, as long as you don't come out with that intention or your action is to cause chaos or to disturb the public peace. Once it is a peaceful process, a peaceful procession, protesting, perhaps you have your placard or you just speak or you have your song, as long as it is done within the boundaries of decency and order, The Constitution protects that.
Okay, and if still done in the boundary of decency, with the best of attitude, and we have a group of people calling for interim government, would that still be under the Constitution, or would this automatically turn to something illegal?
Yes, I don't think a protest, in the sense of a protest, should now reach out to say what you want in that sense. If I'm protesting results, you could say these results are not acceptable to us. INEC, you have shortchanged us. Judiciary, please do the right thing. By calling for interim national government, you are like saying truncate the entire process. You are now going out of the Constitution. The Constitution has created the three arms of government. We inherited this. We weren't born into it. The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And each of them knows their bounds. In any conflict, in any contest, be it electoral, be it commercial, be it employment, and what have you, if your grievances cannot be settled amicably, the law is you go to the court. The judiciary will entertain and resolve accordingly. If you now take up your protest placards and begin to call for this, you are now recommending something out of order with the Constitution. Rather, your placard should be directed to the courts, to the judiciary, to say, judiciary, we are looking up to you. Don't do any kurukere thing, no. Do the right thing, because we feel we have been shortchanged. We feel our mandate, or the man who has the right mandate, or so, has been deprived of that mandate. I hope you understand. So I don't think that protest should also have that call, because by that you could be, that's like the boundaries of decency and order and law. Also means that you shouldn't go and call for something illegal. An interim national government is an illegal arrangement. If in your peaceful protest you are now calling for this, it could be interpreted to mean incitement. It could be inciting in nature. You are asking for something that the law hasn't provided for. It's an illegal arrangement that is not constitutional. Okay? Rather, your protest should make it clear that you don't believe what INEC did. The INEC, you went out of the guidelines you put, you make those things clear. INEC said it should be this way, but what we saw is this. INEC said is this, and what we saw is this. We have evidence how that so many things that were illegal took place during these elections. Now, what is the next thing? We're calling on the judiciary to right the wrongs.
So rather than calling for interim government, the best thing to do is to hold the judiciary accountable for them to do their best. And now to AIJ Austin Iwar, retired. You said earlier that it is something well known that a lot of Nigerians do not trust a lot, not to say any, but a lot of offices we have for the federal government. And if there is lack of trust to the judiciary, then what would you advise the people do next to register their grievances if they don't believe in court judgment? Okay, it seems we do not have AIJ Austin Iwar retired with us right now. But let us, okay, do you have something you want to add?
Yes, talking about the judiciary. You know, like I said earlier, if you put it by way of integrity quotient, if we should use that word, it's at a low ebb. The trust Nigerians have, especially when it comes to do with elections. And that's why I said earlier, a lot of Nigerians will wait patiently, I believe, for the courts to come out with their judgment. And I also pray and believe that the courts will do the right thing based on the evidence that is before them. Okay? Because a lot of people, the layman, as we say in law, the person who is not a lawyer may not understand the process of what goes on in the courts. He will say, this election didn't go well. There was rigging. But that alone cannot correct it. If you don't painstakingly get the evidence documentary evidence and other form of evidence that supports your assertion that there was rigging, and place it before the court in a legal way. The procedure has to be followed, and then presentation to the court. By the time the judges, the panel members look at it, and then look at the other party's case, countering your own with their own evidence and application of the law, the tribunal will come out with their judgment. But like I said, I pray that where this evidence is and is overwhelming, the tribunals will do the right thing, no matter whose ox is God. And our ability to maintain our peace as a nation and as a people will be tested if at the end of the day, the tribunals come out with what is not acceptable to many people. That is when you may not now be having time to protest. It may now be something else. I am not saying that is what it is, but I know that thus far a lot of people are waiting patiently, trying to douse their anger, douse their disappointment by waiting for the judiciary or waiting on the judiciary. If the judiciary understands the weight of expectation on them, I believe they will not let anybody, any interest, okay, step in their way or step in their way to do right justice, not technical justice. We had 2 instances recently which a lot of people frowned at, including legal practitioners. And one key one was a situation that involved the present Senate President representing, I think, Yobe North, Lawan, again, and Raji Machina, who also contested the primaries on the ticket of APC. As at that time, the Senate President had taken up a form to contest for the presidential primaries and was not around when that primaries for the Senate in Yobe State took place. Machina was returned as the winner. To cut it short, you know the story, how it went up to the Supreme Court, and Machina was, based on that technical angle, that the mode of commencement of the petition was not what was.
Okay, all right. We have AIG Austin, you are retired with us now. So the question I asked earlier was, you said earlier that a lot of Nigerians do not really have trust in the federal government or a lot of its offices. And same could be said for the judiciary. A lot of Nigerians too might not trust the judiciary. And since, according to the Constitution, if you have any grievances, you have to go to the judiciary. Where there's lack of trust in the judiciary, what should the people do next?
Well, yeah, my colleague in the studio here has even told you some of the judgments that the judiciary has given this country that has created a lot of trust issues and interpretation of the law itself. We have it's historical. We have cases of people who did not even participate in an election, and yet they become either governors or like we have the Borno North situation. But you know, there's nothing the people can do other than the government to take a second look at our justice system. Maybe we should have something ahead of the Supreme Court. Maybe we should have a constitutional court that is standing above the Supreme Court when it comes to electoral issues. After the Supreme Court, then it goes to a constitutional court that gives its final verdict. Or maybe even the National Assembly itself, maybe the matter can go back to the National Assembly for it to decide. However, in that situation, we will have politicians sitting in to decide on an issue that they have interest in. So we need to be very creative. Nigerians cannot rise against it. I mean, it will be undermining the system if Nigerians go rioting about what has come out of a judicial pronouncement. But I think the National Assembly, the government should begin to be creative and look at other means of getting justice when we find this kind of situation with us.
All right, thank you. What do you have to say about that? Having a court higher than the Supreme Court, perhaps a constitutional court, like you said.
Yes, for me, if you change the nomenclature and call it constitutional court, it's still going to be manned by human beings. Okay? If you want something more than the Supreme Court, it's not angels that would come down to man those courts. So I want to see it from the angle of having men of integrity on the bench. If you bring the constitutional court that will be specialized in handling constitutional matters, the problem we have today in Nigeria is not that of the name of the court or the tribunal, but the fact that the people who are manning them are not, either they are or they are not trustworthy. That has always been the challenge. And when you talk about lack of trust, it's about the people in there, not about the name of the constitution. Of course, I know with respect to the third AIG, he's saying, we can still get it right as long as we don't take laws into our hand. We can amend the laws to see whether when some of these type of cases come up, we can have another body to review their decisions. Yes, I understand. But at the end of the day, we should build a nation. We should build what will last the test of time, what will last centuries to come. And it is not angels that will do it. It's not machines that will do it. It's still us. One has to come to a point where he will say, I will do what is right, even if my life goes for it. So we'll get to that point. We'll still keep having this issue. And one thing with Nigerians, it takes a very small thing to please Nigerians. I'm sure you know that. All this problem about corruption, all these things, when Nigerians have steady power, they go out in the morning, they have power where they work, they come home in the evening, they can put on their television sets, they see light to iron their clothes, then build roads for Nigerians, give them the amenities, and let them have some form of stability in the economy. What else are they asking me for? So also with the judiciary. If the judiciary comes out today with something, good, they may not satisfy everything, but let there be some things that will happen and people will say, oh, our confidence is restored. That is all we need. Human beings will still run the system, no matter the name you call it. So those human beings should be our target for change, to do the right thing.
No, very well then. And still talking about the election, I have to ask this question. This question goes to AIG Austin Iwa, retired. How would you rate the performance of Nigeria security in this last election? Are you pleased with your performance?
I was one of those that was involved in preparing some of the security officers, especially the police, for this election through several trainings that we conducted, election security management. And if I'm disappointed in several aspects of what happened, and we saw them on TV. Even during the training, even during the pre-election training, security training, most of what happened were anticipated. I mean, based on previous experiences of electoral malpractices in this country. We knew that these things were going to happen again. And we advised that strategies and other things should be done. Intelligence should be deployed as early as possible, identifying those that we are prone to creating problems for us during the election. And unfortunately, whilst the security agencies perform fairly well in some areas, in most of the areas, I don't think they performed well compared to even the 2015 election. I think their performance in 2015 elections was far more better than this 2023 election. If I was to rate them on a scale of 10, I would give them 4. But then again, elections are still new in this country. This is just, we are just about 20-something years of the democratic process, and every aspect of governance is experiencing this transition. Even the police, the security agencies are experiencing different levels of transitions from military ways of doing things to more democratic ways of doing things. So we have not reached where we want. We haven't, the security agencies have not performed the way we wanted to perform. The entire system itself, the entire electoral system, the democratic system itself has not performed the way we expect it to perform. But democracy is not an event. It's a process, and we believe that by and by we will reach Uhuru. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be painful, but I think that we are learning our lessons, and we hope that the security agencies will correct those. We still have some elections this year. I think next month we have Bayelsa election coming up sometime in this year. So we hope that the lessons from this election will inform in planning and strategy for the next elections.
Thank you so much for being part of Firecrackers today. We truly appreciate your input on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And that's AIG Austin Iwa retired, who will join us live from Abuja. He's a former AIG. And I have to, okay, do you have any words, maybe something to play a soothing balm on Nigerians right now? Because as I said, a lot of people are on edge. And very quickly, because we are running out of time.
Of course, like I said, that I would like to say that this to Nigerians: let them keep their fingers crossed, trusting that whatever parts of the country their issues came up from, those in the far north, those in the south, we have the governorship, we have the state assembly, we have the national assembly, we have the presidential. So many people are hurting from the outcome of some of these elections in some places, in most places. As the cases have gone to tribunal, let them keep their fingers crossed. But my assessment, my personal assessment, I want to align myself with the retired AIG. Having seen what happened in 2015, a lot of Nigerians believe that after 2015, the way the elections went, that brought in President Buhari, that we could build upon that to 2019, and then with beavers and a lot of these other technological input, that by 2023 we will be way ahead of so many other African countries, comparing with Europe and the West in terms of election. But what happened in these 2023 elections has set us back. For me, I didn't see any credibility in it. It was not, it didn't speak well even of the President Buhari regime. Everybody expected that Buhari will hand over and keep that promise that I will not be for anybody. Of course, he's a member of the APC. No, nobody is saying that. But we are talking about let people see that their votes will count.
Yes.
That is it.
And like you said earlier, we just have to wait for the evidence to be presented in court so that we'll know for sure if the election that took place was credible or if there were mago, so to speak.
Yes.
And this is Ben Abraham, founder, Zarifat Aid, a crime-based NGO and a legal practitioner. Many thanks for being part of Firecrackers today.
Always, always.
And unfortunately, this is where we will be drawing the curtain close on today's episode of Firecracker. It has really been a pleasure. It has been informative, it has been educative, and for people out there, please do the right thing in a way that won't land you in trouble. You might not know this, but now you know. Calling for interim government might not be the best thing to do at this time. My name is Diriba Misalako. See you again, same time, same station next week. You have a wonderful week ahead.